Oh, good morning, everyone, or anyone. My name's Dave. I, a few days ago, took delivery of a software-defined radio, the SDRPlay RSP2, which I have to say is awesome. And I've used it in a little bit of an experiment. I've been sort of toying with the idea of getting back into amateur radio after, God, I don't know, 30 odd years, 25 years. I never really radiated or transmitted much. It was more for fun on sort of 70 centimeters, 2 meters. Anyway, I quite like the idea of the 40 meter band. It looks quite good fun. So I thought, right, okay, antennas. Don't worry about the radios. It's antenna. So I've just literally lashed up a really simple dipole out of some bell wire. So 2 core bell wires stripped back, so you got sort of 10 meters in each direction or something like that. It didn't really matter because this was a comparison rather than an absolute test. So I've been umming and ahhing about where to put not this antenna but an antenna, something a bit more professional, either in the loft, which would avoid trouble from other members of the house. I'll say no more. Or in the garden, between my observatory, telescope observatory, and my workshop. So I thought, I looked around how much difference is it going to make putting it in the house compared with putting it outside, and I couldn't really get a definitive answer. You read threads and you get as many answers as threads you read. So I thought, well, I'll just test it. So I took the dipole and rigged it up to the high impedance input of the SDR radio. Now the great thing about the SDR radio is that you can directly capture the sample set from the sampling box or from the radio RF front end and save it to it saves it to a WAV file. So that allows you to completely recreate the conditions by playing the WAV file back through the software-defined radio. So anyway, enough wittering. If we look at the screen, the capture here, I've got two panes or 2 windows up. The lower right hand window shows shows said dipole in the loft. Now I orientated it as, it's not a massive loft, but it was big enough to get most of the dipole extended corner to corner, and then it was connected to some RJ45 sort of feeder cable down, and then connected into the box. And then I did exactly the same experiment with exactly the same bit of wire, but set up out in the garden, just literally, and it wasn't even extended in the garden actually. It was just the 2 tails of the dipole were tied to 2 opposite fence posts on opposite sides of the garden, so it was more like a V shape than an extended line. And there was a massive difference, basically. Well, I think there's a massive difference. I mean, I say I'm a bit green on this, so maybe if anybody's watching and they can throw some extra information in, then all good. But the top left hand panel shows the activity on we're looking at the entire 40 meter band here. This is a great thing about the SDR radio. We can look at we don't have to just pick one small frequency or one small signal. We can very easily see the entire 40 meter band in one go. So that's sort of from 7 meg to 7.3 meg, all the whole spectrum. And you can see just at a glance how much more activity there is on the top left pane compared with the bottom right pane. The top left one being outdoors, the bottom right being up in the loft with the same bit of wire. I thought maybe it was the RJ45 feeder, so I did a third quick experiment where I just connected the antenna to the box, and then we have an open plan downstairs, and I just stretched the dipole out across the length of the house, about a meter or 2 off the floor, but I got pretty much the same result as the loft, slightly worse actually. Because it was obviously sort of buried in the house as opposed to buried in the loft. So I was quite surprised at how big a difference is. I mean, the activity on the outside setup is so much. There's so much more activity. All the settings on the SDR radio for these 2 experiments were exactly the same. The input gain, everything was identical. It was just where the dipole was positioned. So yeah, I'd be really interested, anybody's watching this, for some comments really. I mean, is this kind of obvious to everyone, or because I have read threads where people are saying, oh no, it'll be almost as good in the loft, you won't see much difference. Well, I'm seeing a big difference, here. Based on this, I've gone completely off the put the antenna in the loft. I mean, I was going to go for a 40 meter loop sort of, you know, circular loop type arrangement with a 4-to-1 Ballon type thing going on. Obviously not this antenna that I've just lashed up. This is just as an experiment. So yeah, anybody wants to chip in and comment on below, that would be good, because at the moment I'm very much sort of leaning towards the outdoor approach, because the difference in performance from this experiment seems to be quite significant. Well, certainly on reception, and obviously if you can't hear people CQing, then it's a little bit difficult to respond to them. I can only assume that the radiating would be as badly affected as receiving. Obviously it's the same signal, and just in reverse. So there we go. Interesting experiment, and made much easier by the fact that I've got this SDR radio that I can, you know, rig things up to and then do direct comparisons on a very wide spectrum, rather than just spot checking a few frequencies. So this is a kind of a mixed experiment, really. It shows the massive benefits of the radio, and also the results of using it to do the test. Anyway, enough wittering. Any comments, more than welcome. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. Cheers.